Well, hello everyone. I'm Dunk Tinkle. I fly with Brave Newbies. Who do you fly with?
Brave Newbies.
Oh, come on, people. I need a little
Free
more.
range chickens.
All right, let's try this again. We'll do it again. Let's roll the tape again. Hi, I'm Dunk Tinkle with Brave Newbies. Who do you fly with?
Chickens.
That's more like it. All right, people that are watching at home on YouTube or Twitch later, who do you fly with? I see you out there. Type something. Okay, great. All right, so with that done, let's get into what this is all about. I'm going to start with a slide I started with last year. This is kind of part 2 of a presentation I gave last year. This is what I start with. Something that people don't like to think about a lot, or maybe they just don't think about it, is that when things go wrong in EVE at the big level, it's almost never you lost a battle. It's almost never you lost a ship. It's almost never something that we consider a victory in the game. It's morale. And I'm going to tell you 2 quick stories. First story is ULAX. So some of you might have been there. The Legacy Coalition had been getting its head kicked in for a couple of months, rolling back. We've lost several keep stars up to this point. And the Winter Coalition and their friends from the north were just stomp-baiting us. And the morale was pretty low at that time. And people were concerned, like, if we lose this fight we're going to have in ULAX, that's it. We're going to get kicked out of the south and there's nowhere for us to go. This was bad news. So the fight happens, and we lost the Keep Star. Right? We lost the objective. The Keep Star was killed by the bad guys. But because of what happened the day after, when we camped in the enemy Super and Titan fleet for like 5 days, it went from being the loss of this invaluable, important structure to a huge morale boost and a humiliating defeat for our enemy. Now remember, we lost the Keep Star. Like, that just evaporated. That fight effectively ended the war, and it changed the meta of the game, of how people fought. But we lost. We lost the Keep Star. This fight, or not fight, happened just a few weeks ago in 03 TAC 4, where Winterco had their main staging Keep Star in Deterrent. And Legacy Coalition and Winter Coalition had been fighting for about 6 months on a daily basis. For all this talk of stagnation in EVE, the entire south of the map was fighting every day over stuff. Right? Some of you were there. And so, through a long series of events, this Keep Star here gets reinforced. And they're going to go into the armor timer. And so the Legacy Coalition says, hey, let's have some fun and assemble and rally the troops. Maybe we can kill this thing. That would be awesome. And on the Winter Coalition side, they're like, this is it. This is we have to stand up to this. Bring everything you have. Log in every alt, every Titan, everything you have. We are going to defend. We're going to fight here. And they did. They showed up and there were 200 Titans, which I think are this blob here. They brought 200 Titans to the fight. And the Legacy Coalition said, we can't fight that, right? And then Legacy had a smart idea, a tactical idea, and at the time that this was being repaired, they sent out Intosis fleets and 15 iHubs got flipped in 1 hour, okay? And the Winter Coalition leadership is faced with an impossible choice. Do we stay and defend the Keep Star, or do we leave and go try and stop all this Intosising? Because if they get 15 iHubs reinforced, we're not going to be able to match that again, right? So they defended the Keep Star, all right? They won this battle. 03 TAC, the not battle, they showed up in an overwhelming Titan force. They won. They didn't lose a thing. They didn't lose a single ship in this system. But after this day, the war was effectively over. And why? Because Winterco realized they could not rally their people after pumping them up to such heights to do all this stuff, to then go try and defend 15 iHubs that are going to come out within an hour, hour and a half of each other. It's an impossible task. And the war was over. So the war was over in these 2 cases about morale. The morale of losing a Keep Star and the morale of keeping a Keep Star going completely opposite. So, this is what my talk is about. I'll go over last year's presentation. There were 3 things I talked about there. They're fairly simple things. That's me. They put me on the big stage last there with this plexiglass podium. That's awesome. The first thing is leading, or listening, I should say. And listening is probably the most important thing a leader can do, and to listen quietly and to not be telling people what to do all the time. If you sit in comms and they don't really realize you're there, you will hear what they really feel. You'll hear what they really are concerned about. If you read the messages and don't interact with them, you will see what they're concerned about. And if you don't really understand what people are concerned about or need or want or how they're feeling, you won't know how to react. Second thing is doing things for people, right? And this goes with another saying that I could probably just make this one slide on this. It's called, basically, leadership is not a rank, it's not a title. Leadership is a being of service to others and willing to sacrifice for others. That's what it's about. If you think about the big leaders that you've known in your personal life and history, it wasn't about the title they were given, it's about what they did for their people, how they led them at the front and not pushing from behind. So in this case, acting, what I'll call acting, is just basically doing small things for people. This, for those that don't involved in it, is lighting a sign for somebody. And it's a small thing to do. It's like less than 10 million ISK to light a sign for somebody, put it in the right place and do it for them. But the sense of relief that somebody has by moving their multi-billion capital ship to someone they trust in the location they trust, that's huge to them. They don't forget that kind of stuff. And it's simple things. It doesn't have to be huge things for someone. It can be as simple as, we're out of medium shield extender 2s in our home staging system. Does anybody have them? And you can just trade it to those people, right? It doesn't have to be a huge thing, but people remember those things. And then the last thing is being a good example. This is a dumpster fire, for those that really can't see. And part of your job as a leader is to put out dumpster fires that are happening. Drama sinos, whatever you want to call it. If you're the kind of person who's going to egg on drama and fights and stuff like that, it can be a lot of fun, but you're not a good leader by doing that, right? There's a time and a place for conflict, healthy conflict, but if it's really a dumpster fire going on in your comms or your chat or your Discord or your Slack, you want to step in and kind of de-escalate things, right? And being a good example, if you have a thing that your group is known for, you should do it. Moving on, this is Who Am I? I did this last year too. I think you all can read, so I don't need to read this to you, but I've been playing Eve for a long time, done a lot of things, different things in Eve. Currently I'm on the CSM, you may have heard my name from that. And in real life, I'm a corporate executive, and basically anyone who's a corporate executive or was in the military knows that what I'm telling you here is like the basics 101 of leadership. So I do this kind of stuff in real life, having to manage people that don't want to do stuff, right? Nobody comes to work every day and says, I can't wait to do this thing. You have to pay them to come. It's so painful, you're paying them to come. So you have to use these same techniques with people here. So that's who I am, things I do. That's my carrier before they were faxes, getting Doomsday by Black Legion. They loved it so much they made a video about it. All right, so what I'm going to talk about today are 3 new things to talk about. So that's another presentation technique. Just give them 3 things to think about. So the first one is trust, second one is communication, and the last one is curiosity. So we'll go through each one of those. So trust is probably the most critical element in group cohesion that you're going to have. Once it's broken, it's very hard to reforge. It's like, what's the sword in Tolkien? Come on. In the Return of the King, the sword? Somebody? No. What kind of geeks are you? No one knows the Tolkien sword? They reforge it in like after 2,000 years and then they go... All right. I'm disappointed.
Yeah.
You know it? All right. So,
I should know this. Yeah.
All right. It's homework then. All right. So one of the key things in trust is having a common ethos, a common thing that your group, whatever it is, what is it about? Right? You look at any famous group, whether it's a military group or a sports team, they have something that they identify with about what they are and what they do and all that kind of stuff. I'm in part of Brave, And you'll see on most of the swag we do, most of the things, most of the communications, when I make videos and put them out on the internet, some of you have seen them before, you'll hear me say these three things over and over and over. And this is our culture, right? This is our ethos. And we're not always classy, and we're not always having fun, and we're not always brave. But we have to aspire to some ideals that differentiate us from other people. And your group can do whatever you want. I know the code guys, and they love it, and that's what they're all about, is ganking, right? Whatever your passion is about, you have to be able to gather your people around that passion. If you don't have a common thing you all hold together as your value or your ethos or your reason for being here, it's very difficult to tie people together. The next thing, trust is never given, right? Trust is earned, okay? Just because someone is made in charge, just because someone is given the title FC, doesn't mean you trust them. You trust them after you've been on a couple fleets and they treated you right, and it was fun. Even if you all got wiped out, how did it make you feel when you're on that flight? And then that trust slowly builds up in time. And then one day they'll say, I need to go do a thing. We need a thing, it's called the Doing Things Fleet, and I need you to get in and not ask questions, right? Because no one needs to know you're going to move 4 freighters through 2 regions full of fuel blocks and ozone, right? That'd be too tempting of a target for some bad guys. But you can do it if you've built up the trust in people, that they believe that I have been with this person before, I understand, they won't screw me over, this won't be stupid. And when we finished the fleet of moving 4 freighters through 2 regions, everyone felt very good about themselves because they had been of service to an even wider group. They were moving alliance-level stuff around. They didn't even know it, but when it was revealed to them in the end, they felt good that they had been of service to others. And then another key thing is sharing power. In our group, anybody can lead a fleet. You don't have to be an official FC. Anybody can do whatever they want pretty much, right? You can't break our rules, don't shoot blues, that kind of stuff. But just making someone the boss of the fleet and saying, you take it out, you do it. And if you're wealthy enough, you can say, I'll refresh all your SRP. You're taking out a bunch of towers? Great. Here's a few $100 million. Go have fun. I don't care if you welcome. Right? And even you just give a new FC who's super nervous, right? They got the shakes and they're all nervous about doing it. And you give them 20 fitted ship and say, go blow them up. I trust you. Go have fun. Go lead these people. And you're putting trust in them, and then they in turn have trust in you, and then it's a virtuous cycle, as they would say. The next thing we'll talk about is something that some groups do really well, and some groups are horrible at this. So rumors are the stock and trade of EVE Online and tinfoil. I don't know if you can see it here. This is someone saying in comm in Slack that I'm a weeb, which I guess means I like anime. Is that true? Yeah. Right, yeah. So I'm beyond your classifications, right? So you have to address rumors right away. Now, I'm using a jokey thing here, but real rumors do get started that can destroy entire groups. It destroys cohesion, it destroys trust, and all that stuff. And even if it's bad news, even if the rumor is true, you're 100% better confirming, like, yeah, that did happen. That person did leave. In our case, our capital FC, our main FC that led all of our capitals, was a spy for our most terrible enemy for a year, right? And so we had to admit that and tell everyone this is what happened, and it sucks. And I really like that guy. And now he's working for the bad guys. And he screwed us over on all these fights, and it sucks, and we look like suckers. But if you're not able to do that, you're not authentic, which is the next thing to talk about, right? I'm an old guy, and I get cranky, so they made a special mumble channel for me called Cranky Old Blokes, right? But that's who I am, and I can get cranky. Most of the time I'm pretty nice to people, but I think probably some of the brave people here know there's been angry dumb times. But they know what's going on with me. Like, I'm not faking it, and if you are talking to people and you don't believe it, people will know. Humans are the best bullshit detectors on the planet. Like, we're trained from an early age to just the way someone looks in their eyes, you can tell whether they're lying or not. The tone of their voice, do they pause when they talk? All those things, you don't even think about it, but you do it all the time. And if you try and pull the wool over people's eyes about what's actually going on, if you're inauthentic, if you're trying to be happy when you're sad, people will go, I don't care what he's saying. That's not, something's wrong, right? You can't have that. And the last thing is, in this communication, is specifics and being able to give people detailed things, not hand waving. People don't like hand waving. You know, there's only so long you can like, rah, rah, we're the best, everything's awesome, right? This little thing here I made when we were getting kicked out of our time in catch. It was a terrible time, very frustrating. And people wanted to pretend like it wasn't happening. So I would do these do's and don'ts where I gave them clear, this is what you need to do. What is it? Don't pretend like this doesn't suck. Like, you have to be clear with people. I'm telling them exactly what to do. Evac, place a jump clone, join the fleet, you know. If you're not specific on telling what to people to do, especially in a crisis situation, they will panic and they will do the wrong thing. So even if you don't have a great answer of what to do, you're better off saying, do this. This will help. Do something. And so you see a lot of groups, what's called a fail-scade. And what happens is they don't follow these things. Fail-scades are almost always failures of morale, turning into rumors that get unchecked. People lose trust. They don't know what to do. And it all falls apart in like one day. Like, you've seen it. It happens in real time on Reddit, right? You're just watching these things not happen. And that's how things fall apart. I'll make a special slide about this. Empathy and compassion are extremely powerful things that we do for each other. Everybody here has had bad days and good days. I'm getting emotional just talking about this. This picture is a cyno-vigil, for those that haven't been on one, for somebody who's died. This one in particular was for a pilot whose family was killed in New Zealand in the massacre down there. And we had a big cyno-vigil for him, and I got to actually meet him when I went to Sydney. And that's a big thing. Losing your family in a horrific terrorist attack is terrible, and the community rallies around you, right? But it doesn't always have to be such a big dramatic thing as someone is dead and there's a cyno-vigil. This is a chat with somebody who broke up with a girlfriend and wasn't able to go to E-Vegas this year. That's it. It's in the big picture of your life, it's not a huge thing. But to him, it meant a lot that we were checking in on him over this thing going on in his life. So having sympathy and empathy for people, even when they are having a bad time because of their own decisions, right? I played too much Eve and I got kicked out of college, right? It happens. The person made bad choices. So if you can ever find the chance, even though it goes against, like, you want to tell them, like, here's how you fix it, which is a typical, like, gamer thing, like, you should have used the meta version of the shield extender instead of the Tech 2 version. There's a time where you don't want to do that. When somebody's going through an emotional thing, you just want to say, I'm here for you, I hear what you're saying, I feel you. They don't want to be told. No one needs to be told it sucks to have your family killed. No one needs to be told it sucks to have your girlfriend break up with you. They just want somebody to talk to. Having empathy, again, builds trust, that kind of stuff. So there's a good quote from Maya Angelou there at the bottom. The next thing is curiosity. But I'm curious now as I see like just a ton of blank faces and I can't read the room. So is this what you wanted to hear?
Yeah.
All right, good. All right, so curiosity. Eve is a game where you never can know it all. There will people who claim they know it all. They don't. There's a graph here that talks about how much you think you know, and then as you actually start to know, you realize how little you know, which, watch it later, I'll put it online. But basically, there are people, and I'm sure you've met them on comms or on podcasts, and they talk like they understand every aspect of the game, they understand exactly why everybody did everything, they understand everything. They're the expert. And they're full of shit, right? Everybody has something to learn. And so if you can't get past that and not ask questions and not be willing to talk to people and find out more, even though you might think you know everything they know, but you're not willing to talk to them, you can't really be curious, right? You're kind of going to get locked in. So, I did faction warfare in the very first release of it, back when you didn't make any money doing it. And we beat the Galente, and we got a little badge. It was awesome. That's the last time I did it, maybe 2009. So now I'm on the CSM, and I got to know about faction warfare. And I'm like, I'm a captain in the Kadari militia, and I beat the Galente, so I know everything I need to know. Well, turns out things have changed in faction warfare since I did it. So I had to go to the faction warfare people and say, what's up with this? What's up with this blockade thing? What? And if I had just listened to what I heard on podcasts, I would think that everybody agrees that this mission blockade thing is awesome and great and everybody loves it. But half a dozen people like, this is stupid. Here's why. Right? And so I had to be curious about why. And I didn't take an opinion on it, but you have to ask questions even though you think you know something, right? I think I've built a lot of structures. I've built like 200 structures in the game. You people like Athenors. You really like Athenors. And I think I know a lot about that. But then just yesterday I met a guy from, is it Theron? I can't remember. And he had a whole different way that he did things. It was very different than mine. And I was like, holy shit, what else don't I know? So, again, with a virtuous circle, if you're asking questions to someone to find out something, and you show respect to them that they have knowledge and they have experience, that's again a building trust thing that you're doing with people. And then sometimes you find something and you're like, holy crap, I thought I was an expert. I didn't really understand it at all. Or there's a new way of doing this. And here you go. You have to be willing to say the old way of doing something, it can be improved upon. It doesn't have to be, I'm stuck doing the same way. And you'll find this in EVE a lot. There are people that get very, very comfortable with this is the way things work. And this is what I like to do, and this is exactly how I do it time after time. And then something changes, and they freak out. They can't, you've upset their apple cart. And if you get into that mindset, you really can't lead people, because then you're so frustrated. Right, there's going to be, you guys, if you went to CCP Rise's talk, he talked about all these changes he's planning to do, and I guarantee you there are people on the internet that are just bonkers crazy over this. Right? I'm scared to look at Reddit till I get home. But we've been blowing up ships for 15 years or whatever it is. We're going to continue to blow up ships. It's all going to continue to happen. We got to adapt to new ways of doing things. People don't really like that, right? But if you're going to lead, you have to be able to say, so they're making the combat interceptors and the Jaguars are going to get nerfed, and okay, what does that mean for us? Where's our opportunity? We're going to get rich making these new interceptors? What do we need? You have to embrace the future and embrace new things if you're leading. Because otherwise, if you as a leader are dejected and frustrated and pissed off, and for a long time, it affects your whole group, and they're like, I don't want to go hang out with Mr. Sad Sack, right? They're like, I'm going to go where somebody's having fun. So, I don't know where I am at the time, but. Okay. So, I'm going to recap again, then we can do questions and all that kind of stuff. So, for this kind of talk about being a leader, there's 3 key issues you can walk away with. Think about if you're establishing trust with those people, and a key way to establish trust is putting trust in other people, even though you don't have a reason to trust them, right? People recognize when they're being trusted for the first time, and it's an emotional moment for them, and that's what you want to create. Communication, clear, authentic, transparent communication is essential. Without it, you see it time after time. It kills organizations, it kills groups. Authenticity is so important. And then being curious. When you hear about some new player in your group and they're doing some new wacky thing with a new fit, rather than being dismissive of why are you flying the Nighthawk? You want to ask them, why are you flying the Nighthawk? And usually it looked cool, but occasionally they're like, I figured something out. And if you can identify those cool new things that other people are doing and bring them to the rest of your group, that's what a leader does, right? You have to put up with some crazy conversations from time to time. But if you can't be curious in this game, if you can't be open to new ideas and be willing to implement them, you might as well like go play Modern Warfare next, right? Because you know what you're going to get out of that game. So that was my presentation. I did about a half hour, like I said. So now we'll ask for any questions, and hopefully this is what you guys want.
Can we clap for you?
A question regarding the trust. So, obviously you want to be able to empower players by trusting them. Is there any advice you would have on how to avoid getting screwed over by being too trusting? Or is there a line that you can kind of go over? As I, for example, experienced where I was trying to be very trusting and I got kind of screwed over. So just being able to distinguish the two is something I'm kind of interested in.
Well, it's starting small, right? You don't want the first trust is, can you move this Titan for me? You want the first thing to be, can you do a small thing for us? Or I trust you to go take these 20 characters and go have a fleet. So start small and let it build. It's a cycle for you too. You have to develop trust in people. There's people in the game I would trust to move my Titan for me. There are other people I would not trust to move an Atron for me. But that's all because of experience with them, right? So start small and move your way up. You still may get screwed, right? It may be your capital FC director that flips on you. But you got to start somewhere.
Do you have any good communication techniques or tips? Maybe techniques that you've utilized that you find are particularly valuable or particularly effective versus others that, aren't so much?
I think it's very specific to who you are as a person, right? I'm on that extroverted scale. I'm like way over on the E side. So I'll like make videos in my living room or my dining room where some of you have seen my videos where I'm doing all kinds of stupid stuff and I'm completely comfortable looking like a jackass doing it, right? You've seen the videos. Oh, there's me in my dining room doing shots with asking CCP for salvage drones here. My wife's sitting over here going like, oh my God, I can't believe I married such a geek, right? That works for me. It's not going to work for everybody. If you aren't comfortable with that being on the internet for the next 50 years, it's probably not for you, right? You may be a writer, you may be somebody who wants to record it. A lot of state alliances are recorded, they're read out. So it has to be authentic to you, what you're comfortable with. For me, I like the videos, I like just talking to people, I like that personal interaction. It's not for everybody. Some people are really good writers, some people make diagrams. In our group, there's very complicated diagrams where you're supposed to put all your ships, right? And it's good communication to do that. But everybody's comfortable with what they're comfortable with. So try a lot of things and see what you like.
I got kind of a dumb question for you. So the title of this is How to Lead Without Being a CEO, but what is your actual title in Brave? What do you actually do on a day-to-day basis in Brave, besides narrative leading?
I have no official title in Brave. That's the truth. I've rejected all that stuff. On a day-to-day basis, I do a lot of our back-end infrastructure stuff as far as resetting the Athenors, stuff that requires a lot of trust. Manning, keep stars and Fortizars. We need 10 iHubs immediately, and you need to move them to Scalding Pass. Like, I do that kind of back-end logistics stuff. And because our CEO is in Australia, and our second in command is in Germany, I'm the American who's empowered to be the emergency, in case of fire, break glass, right? Like, that's my role in Brave. Like, something's happening. And I'll go, okay, undock the Nighthawks. But I don't FC them, but I'll be like, yes, break out the strategic Nighthawk cache. So I don't have a title. I think it's a kind of, there's not a lot of people like me in Eve, but there are people that kind of have this back-end logistical role. In Goonswarm, they have a group called GSOL that is one of the most highly trusted, highly effective groups that's out there. And they are constantly working all the time to make sure all of the Imperium systems are working and running. It's a very impressive operation. So there are roles like that. I think they have a title directorate, as they would call it. We're just not big enough and that organized.
Cool. Thank you.
Anything else? Gonna go relax? And
Why reject all the roles?
what's that?
Why reject the roles?
Why reject the rules? Well, I go to work.
Roles like
Oh.
leadership titles.
Well, I have roles in the game, right? Like I can do things because that you click on buttons. But as far as a title, the truth is I don't want to be in charge. Right? I go to work every day and I go to an office and I have staff and I have to go to meetings and I have to deal with other vice presidents and all that stuff. And they pay me to do that, so I do it. I don't want to do that in my spare time. I don't want to be in charge, right? So I'm happy to help and I help when I can, but like while I'm here in Vegas, I said, I'm not laying any silos while I'm in Vegas. You're on your own. Right? I'm not resetting the moons while I'm in Vegas. So I don't want to feel extra pressure. I already feel enough kind of internal pressure to help people out and do things. To have the official title for me personally is like just that step too far. So.
Is that work-play line?
What's that?
Just separating that work-play line.
Yeah, look, I don't want to be so on the hook. Like, to be an alliance CEO and engage in all the meta discussion about coalition stuff and all that stuff, it's a lot of goddamn work. The last thing I want is trying to debate, you know, who are we going to blue or who are we going to fight. I don't like that part of the game.
I was going to see if you think it's beneficial to ever get like a gaming mentor, so to speak, for someone to kind of show you the ropes. And if so, how does one go about that? Finding someone to suit them, because everyone learns differently.
I think everyone's different in how they like to be approached and how they like to learn, right? Some people are, I learn by doing, other people are, I learn by reading, other people are, I learn by watching someone else do it. So you have to find out the way you like to learn and hear things, and then just talking to people, right? You have to be willing to talk to pretty much anybody and just say, hey, I need to know what you know. The story, do those of you know who Doom Chinchilla is?
Oh, yeah.
So Doom Chinchilla is a pilot in Pandemic Legion. Before that, he was in some of the low-sec groups, and I met him 6 years ago at my first Vegas. And at the time, Brave was just getting started. I didn't have any capital ships, and we were trying to figure out how we were going to do Sinos. So I went to Doom, because he was lighting all these Sinos all over low-sec, killing all kinds of stuff, and I said, how do you do that? What do you set it up? How does this all work, right? And we became friends because I asked him, like, teach me about this thing. And in the game, he's a total jerk to us, right? The worst. But in real life, I learned a lot from him, and I still learn from him. And when I go to Colorado to visit my daughter who's in college there, we go out and have cocktails, right? But as the people who have ever fought Doom ever attested, he's the worst person you want to be on the other side of, right? He's relentless and a jerk, and he'll talk shit in local. But I still learned a lot of stuff from him, right? And so you have to be willing to kind of see through all that kind of thing. I don't know if that answered it directly. But.
Yeah, and I guess one last question: who's someone you are inspired by, or who is a leader that you find inspiring? It could be in game or out of game.
Please repeat the question.
Sure. The question was, who's a leader I find inspiring? Well, there's a lot of different people in the game that I have a lot of respect and and inspired by for different reasons. So I'll just give one example, right? So some of you know who Elise Randolph is. He was the leader of Pandemic Legion. He's kind of semi-retired from leadership, but he still likes to shoot things. And Elise, I met him a long time ago too at these kind of events, and Elise always was smiling, right? He's always, I'm having fun. It's all good. And he was calm under pressure, and he could take any question from anyone, and he was just, you could feel this chill just radiating off him at all the time. And I said, Dum, gotta be chill. You can't be the cranky old bloke all the time. So when I think of staying calm, for me, it's like, what would the least do in this situation? So, if that helps.
I had a question for you. I perform a similar role in my group, both the one I'm in now and the one I was in before, to not a lot of official title, but just kind of running things behind the scenes. And this might be a more meta level question than you are prepared to answer, but do you think it is a valuable thing to have kind of like a face, somebody who is always, this is the person who's in charge. This is the person you actually have to answer to, and you actually like recognize either in a title form or because they're famous on YouTube or whatever. Is that an efficient way to do things, or is that just more of like a natural thing that happens in corps?
Well, what you're talking about are kind of two things. We can call it hard power and soft power, right? Hard power is rank and title and actual authority to do something. And that's what CEOs and FCs, and they're empowered with that hard power. I can click this button and you're out. I'll kick you out, I'll commissar your title, right? Hard power. And then there's soft power. And soft power is what I do, right? Your girlfriend broke up with you, she seemed really nice, I'm glad you're still friends, but like that kind of stuff. Soft power is making videos. Soft power is the kind of stuff I deal with. Some people can bring both of those worlds together. And they can do the hard power stuff and the soft power stuff all in one. Right? If you can do that, you probably should be in politics, right? But I do the hard power when I'm at work, and I do the soft power when I'm in Eve. So I think you just have to choose like what path do you want to go on and how do you do that, right? Titles and rank help a lot when someone new is joining your group. They're like, this person was given trust for a reason, but you can't lean on it, right? Like we have a thing, we use Mumble for our voice comms, and there's people that always like, I need my tags. Put the tags that I'm a skirmish FC. I need the tags. And they won't shut up, right? Let me go back to this thing. This guy here basically left Brave to go to test because we wouldn't give him the title of head uwu, whatever that is. Right? It's very important to him that his mumble tag said head uwu.
Give him back.
What? Yeah.
We give him back.
It's too late. So, again, like most of my answers are like, see what fits for you.
Yeah.
But I think if you think about it in hard power and soft power and decide like what you want to lean on, you can make a choice.
Thank you.
You kind of put the description on there that I was looking for hard power and soft power because I'm used to that in the real world and in game. I've actually probably gonna get in trouble for saying this, but I keep getting promoted every time I miss a meeting. So yeah, because of the level of trust there that they have with me, they're like, this is the perfect back to back, and so on and so forth. Trust leads to my position within my corporation. Where do you see the level of success between hard power and soft power? Where do you see people burn out more?
People burn out when they're not having fun. Right?
It's true.
It's like anything in life. You burn out when you're not having fun. As stupid as it sounds, I'm very much excited to build my 200th Athanor. It sounds like the geekiest like achievement, but like I'm stoked, man. Like, come on, when are we gonna rent some more moons that I can sell some Athanors, right? But that's my personal, what I have fun doing. When people are doing a task and it's not fun anymore and it feels like drudgery and unfun, like you've passed that boundaries, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And anyone who's been through like therapy, like with a psychiatrist or psychologist, they talk a lot about boundaries, human boundaries. Like, what are you comfortable with? Are you comfortable with that? Can you keep your boundaries up and not let that person say mean things to you, even though they're your mother-in-law or your, sister or brother?
Mm-hmm.
Same thing in Eve. We're just humans. We're all humans here. And if the boundaries, you're letting them push your boundaries and pushing you to do things you really don't want to do, you have to maintain those boundaries, or it becomes painful and not fun, and then you're like, let's go play Borderlands.
Been playing a lot of Borderlands lately.
Yeah. Borderlands 3, awesome.
So the hard power aspect of it, how would you word it to someone that is hard power? They want things to be their way. They're like leadership talked, and it was literally just that person making a decision. How would you convey to that person that we still need to have fun? That's my only question for you.
Again, I think you have to be willing to say it, right? It should be fun, man.
Just remind them it's a game.
Yeah, I want to log in and be challenged, and I want to get the shakes, and I want to do fun stuff, but what you're talking about doesn't seem like a lot of fun. And I'm not the only one that feels this way, because you're not. You're never the only one who, feels that way. So I think, again, being a little bit of honesty, but again, if your leader's not doing things you like, go find another leader, go find another group, right? It sounds rough, but Eve is something we don't get in our daily lives a lot, right? We get to go choose our tribe whenever we feel like it. You don't often get to re-choose your family very easy. You don't get to re-choose the people you work with very easily. But in Eve, you can be like Vaz and say, I want to be head uwu and go join another group. Does that help?
Yeah.
Are we wrapping up?
Oh, you got 2 minutes.
Oh, 10 minutes, okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, I know, you're going
5 minutes.
7.
7 minutes.
Do we hear 3?
As you mentioned with Brave, anyone can lead a fleet, anyone can do that. I've been trying to take that role a lot in my corporation. Do you have any suggestions for getting people interested when you're not well known for leading that sort of content, to get people to show up, get people want to go on those roams, that sort of thing?
Free ships helps. Wacky titles helps. Like something that seems outside of the ordinary. Like if you just say, we're roaming, we hope to find a fight, but we may not find it, it may be boring and dull. Like no one wants to go on that fleet. Like, people want to go on like quantum supremacy fleet, and then they'll join just to find out what you're talking about. It doesn't have to do with quantum supremacy. It's just anything that can seem out of the ordinary, get people interested, because people are often just sitting there spinning their ship in the station, waiting for something to do. And if it sounds like, we may have some fun, and maybe I hope we get, and we may go 20 jumps and not find anything, and we'll fly back. Like no one wants to go on that flight. But if you're like, we're the flying ferrets, and it's awesomeness, and we're all flying Talwars, or arbitrators, or 30 nudie dragoons, like, it doesn't matter what it is, if you can create a sense of excitement by just being stupid, people will respond.
We're doing holler roam soon.
Yeah.
I want my battle hollers.
When it comes to too many chiefs and not enough Indians, how do you politely tell people who are not supposed to be taking on leadership roles to kind of step back a little bit without demotivating them if they potentially could be, future managers, future leaders?
That's a harder one. You have to basically recognize it. You would acknowledge their contribution. Like, that's an interesting idea. We have to think about it. There's some other things at play here. And we might not go that route, but I appreciate you doing this, but we're gonna figure this out. We're gonna have a decision, or we're gonna make a choice in the next day or so. So you want to acknowledge that they participated, thank them, and then tell them you're still in charge and you're still making the decision, right?
Yeah.
Because you're dismissing them a little bit, but you're kind of like, you're not real fun at this party, so out you go, right? Anything else, or should we wrap it up? All right. Thank you all for coming, putting up with my random ideas. Have a good rest of the day.
That was a good presentation. I really enjoyed it.